All right, let's talk Big 12 now. The Big 12 is so interesting, and I think it's because you could go 1 through arguably 11 for me, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won the conference. You saw Arizona State pick to finish last, end up
Hmm.
winning the thing last year. This is, in my opinion, besides the SEC, the deepest conference, and I don't think that it's a situation either where there's a top heavy bunch, right? Like it's feeling pretty even. I'd say 1 through 6, 7, and then as deep as 11. I wouldn't be shocked if they stir the pot because I think Kansas could be a little sleepy. Same with BYU, even though they just lost Jake Retzlaff. But nevertheless, I'm picking Arizona State to take the Big 12. I like Texas Tech to finish second and play the Sun Devils in the Big 12 title game. Iowa State's there third for me, right in the thick of it. Same with Baylor, Kansas State, Utah, TCU. And again, I think as deep as TCU is where you have a really strong argument to win this league if you're in the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that it goes deep as like 11, 12, but you're right. Those top 7 or 8 teams in the league could definitely get it done. I mean, we saw it last year. There was so much at the top. And for me, I didn't realize until I went in and picked all these games to determine this to determine this poll of mine is I'm like, man, this team could win that game, but it's hard to play at this place and so on and so forth. Like I originally had Utah in the title game because I'm like, it's so hard for these guys to go to Rice Eccles and win. And we know how well coached Utah's been for this entire century. So it was just hard for me to like pick who's who in the Big 12 because so many of these guys can beat each other on any given day. But I do think the consensus is that it's Arizona State's conference to lose, which if you put that message in a bottle and sent it back 12 months, we would be flabbergasted at the thought of that. But I mean, like Kenny Dillingham is a psychopath and he's awesome.
He's a fantastic coach.
He's an incredible coach. I mean, like
You
I would play for Kenny Dillingham in a heartbeat.
just not even to cut you off, but the story is unbelievable. Like, grew up in that area, grew up a diehard Sun Devil fan, went to games at the old Sun Devil Stadium before the renovations, before the name change and everything, went to games there growing up and always said, no matter where I go, that's my dream job is to be the head coach at Arizona State, was the offensive coordinator at Oregon just beforehand. And like, what an unbelievable story. And then boom, just like that, they're in the college football playoff. Just
Year one.
one of the greatest stories, I think, in the history of college football is Kenny Dillingham's turnaround of the Sun Devils. And it's just now beginning to be written. So we'll see what the rest of the chapters have in store. But it's just such a unique story, the way that he grew up going to that stadium, rooting for that team.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, all of the pieces are there for them to continue what they built on last year, right? To build on what happened last year. Obviously, you return Sam Levitt. Obviously, you return Jordan Tyson. You return a guy like Malik McClain, who's honestly one of the more underrated wide receiver twos out in the country. They brought back everybody on defense. Like their defense wasn't anything to write home about last year necessarily, but if you go down their defense, everybody's like a 50-year senior. It's nuts. And that's so important in a conference like the Big 12, which I feel like is the conference of transfers every year. It's so transient in and out more than seemingly any other Power 4 conference. Like continuity and coaching are so important for me. That's why I like a school like Utah or even a school like Baylor. A lot of people are high on this year because coaching plays such a factor when all these guys are coming in and out of the conference. I think Arizona State's got the guys in place in the coaching staff and on the field to run it back this year. They're my pick to win the conference, get back to the college football playoff. I don't know that they'll be back, like one play away from the semifinal like they were last year, but again, it is their conference to lose.
Is there anything you're worried about with Arizona State? I think the one thing that gives me pause with the Sun Devils is the fact that Cam Skattebo was the heart and soul of that team. And I think everybody's just assuming because you have Sam Levitt and because Kenny Dillingham is still there and there is continuity and Jordan Tyson, who was, by the way, banged up down the home stretch of the regular season and in the playoffs in the postseason as well. I think everyone just believes that because the rest of those pieces are there, it's going to be no problem. And it's going to be a Moneyball situation. You can't replace Cam Skattebo, both in the locker room and the on-field production. How can you do it in the aggregate? I think that's where Sam Levitt's leadership really turns things up a tick, right? Because he's going to take over as that driving force in the locker room, and they're going to need it because that is the one thing that gives me pause. less than on the field, more so in the clubhouse, the absence of Cam Skattebo?
I think it's a matter of last year down the stretch, like that huge win against BYU, even when they beat Utah, which was a lot on the heels of Skattebo. But I think back to the BYU game in particular, and then the conference championship against Iowa State and the playoff game against Texas, like Skattebo was the workhorse that got them there. But over the course of the year, you could see Levitt gain more confidence, get more comfortable. His Huggies really dropped in a sense last year. And now, even though Skattebo is gone, Kanye Udo comes in to replace him. He's a pretty good back out of the portal. Levitt's now got that year under his belt where he's like, all right, I'm ready to rock. That's the benefit of being able to learn, in your redshirt freshman season, is because now you get to be the guy in that locker room. And I think between his talent, between who's coaching him, and between his own mental fortitude, like Levitt will be able to be just fine, in my opinion. And also, he's got dogs around him all over the offense. Like, I still think they should be fine, but I think it's a fair point that you bring up, because Skattebo was a dog for sure.
There is one play that comes to mind that makes me be able to look at Sam Levitt and say, yep, he's got it, and they're going to be okay. And it's that third down in the red zone against Texas in the playoff last year, where he pulls the Jake the Snake, and somehow you thought he's dead in the water, scrambles for the first down like a bowling ball. I mean, Cam Skattebo was having this unbelievable performance throughout the entire game. Like, you just kept dropping your jaw thinking, like, this guy doesn't quit. Like, he's putting the team on his back. But when it was time for Levitt to step up, he was able to do it in a huge moment. Like, what a great play.
Yeah, he's awesome, and one of the most fun players in the country to watch. I think probably going to be in the running for the Heisman Trophy this year. We'll get into that later on, but he's an awesome player, and I think the sky's the limit for Arizona State, especially within the Big 12. Again, not sure how they're going to stack up on a national landscape once the playoff rolls around, but they should be able to get there.